What are common mistakes that you see in daily scrums? Well, the first one is calling it a stand-up. So in the Scrum world, it's referred to as a daily scrum. I suspect you do call it a stand-up. As, I'll be honest, so do I. But what we've got to remember is standing up isn't necessary. Requiring people to stand up isn't always a good idea. What are the benefits? Well, we'll hear people say it makes the meeting quicker. I can stand up for 15 minutes. I can stand up for hours on end, as can most healthy adults. So it's not really going to speed it up. One of my favourites was it gets more blood and oxygen to the brain. Well, no, not really. I mean, yeah, you stood up, so your heart's working a bit harder, but I'm 5'6". The difference between me sat down and me stood up is not a huge amount. And one that you absolutely have to be aware of is not everybody can stand up. So beware of the use of the term. Now, most people won't take offence to it. I worked with a great developer who sadly lost his legs. He had a laugh with it. But there's the opportunity there. Why risk it? So the first thing you see is the terminology. It's not always as inclusive as we think it is. Daily Scrum is better. Call it a huddle, call it something else. Other things that we see that are a bit of a bad smell in the Daily Scrum. Well, it being a project report, a status update. Everybody is going round, you're just going down the line, telling the Scrum Master, who likely used to be a project manager, what you've been working on, what you're working on next, and maybe what's getting in your way. Great answers given to the wrong person. What's the Scrum Master going to do with that information? Make a note of it? Report it somewhere? What we want instead is the team talking together, all the developers having a chat about where they are, where they're going next, and maybe what's getting in their way. Yeah, the same questions, but the difference is they're not telling one person in the hope that that one person says yes, no, answers, corrects, steers, directs, whatever it is. That's not what we're talking about. We're after a team coming together to look at its plan. Is it in the right direction? Are we achieving it? Do we need to have some conversations to maybe steer us back onto course? That's very different to a project update. And it not happening. So if your team doesn't stand up, doesn't get together, doesn't have its daily huddle, why? It's a common pattern we see is teams don't do it. Oh, well, we don't need to. We'll do it once a week. Well, once a week is better than nothing, but once a day is better than once a week to steer your ship, to take the opportunity to just check where you are, where you're going. Right? It's not a long meeting and people skip it because it has become too long. I've come across teams who have spent 45 minutes every day in the daily scrum. Don't. In short, if you're spending that long, you're likely talking about way more than you need to the planning activity. Okay? Have a look at what's happening in your daily scrum. Are there conversations that people are, for want of a better phrase, trapped in? Are the two techies gone deep into a topic and everybody else is just waiting for them to come back up for air? If so, that conversation can wait till later. What you want to do is keep your daily scrum short, sharp, to the point. I still recommend the 3 questions. It's no longer part of Scrum, but it is a good behaviour. What are we working on? What will be working on next? What is getting in our way? Everything else, the activity that we're going to do, we need to have a chat. Don't start the chat then. Wait until the end of the daily scrum. Have it at that point. So there's 3 things we see with a daily scrum not going so well. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.